Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Tyler Perry's Sistas, Season 6, Episode 9, True Colors. So we open up the episode exactly where we left off last week with Fatima walking in Karen's apartment. Karen jumped up like, did you just walk in my house? And Fatima like, and did. That's what happened when you tell him you're going to leave the door open. And hey, Zach tried to tell you, Karen, but you didn't want to listen, girl. So now everybody's standing up, and of course they get Karen to the back of the line, and they trying to stand in between the girls, and Karen, she's spewing off all kind of bees this, bees that, get out, like you walking in here like you pay rent. Fatima's like, girl, I got your bee. And if I did pay rent, it'll look a whole lot nicer than this-ish. So they get into this little uproar again, and Karen, she tells Andy, get your friend. That's your friend, right? Like, get her up out of here. And Andy, she tries, to do her best in her little church mouse voice to tell Fatima that she needs to leave and that it's wrong for her to show up there like that. And then tries to tell her, and don't forget that I am your boss. And I'm like, does that have to do with anything, Andy? So Fatima tells her, yeah, from 9 to 5. Like, clearly this is after hours. Girl, hush. So they told her, like, she got a valid point. So then, they still go back and forth with the leave, get out, get out, get out. And Fatima's like, I will leave, but not until I tell you what I have to say.
I'm going to make this one thing clear to you, Karen.
As Fatima was getting ready to say what she had to say, Karen had done tossed Andy to the side, like, get out my way, because you ain't worth a hill of beans to me. She tossed her like a little piece of paper, like she was lightweight.
Zach don't want you, okay? So cut out the bullshit. Stop coming on to him and stop trying to entice him.
Oh, is that why you came here home with 17, Mom? No.
And stop telling us you want him to come you. And then she gonna leave the door.
Danny was hilarious to me in this scene. As soon as Fatima told Karen, stop telling Zach to come F you, Danny turned around and gave Karen this look like, girl, I know you lying. Like, is that what we doing?
Okay. You sound pathetic.
Get this bitch out of my house. Now.
Karen, the only thing that's sparing you right now is that baby you carrying.
So then Fatima throws out there that Karen don't even know who her baby daddy is. So Karen tries to rebuttal with, well, aren't you sleeping with your co-workers? And I'm like, Karen, girl, what that have to do with you not knowing who your baby daddy is? Like, whether she was or not, she not pregnant. I mean, girl, what are you talking about? So that really just let me know that Andy is going back telling Fatima's business, because how else would Karen know that she slept with Hayden? Like, how would she know that? I have always had a problem with Fatima going to Andy telling her personal business. Because for one, like Andy likes to throw in Fatima's face, I'm your boss. So off top, you're my boss and always throwing that in my face. And you are best friends with my man's ex-girlfriend. So all that in a nutshell, you can't know my personal business. No, you cannot, ever. Fatima, I guess she felt like all gloves were off. She was like, no, that'll be your friend, Andy. Andy the one over there sleeping with the co-workers. And as a matter of fact, ain't that's what all y'all doing? So with all that being said, Fatima was basically letting each of them know she wanted all the smoke from whoever was willing to bring it. Nobody was even over there trying to strike a match, child. They didn't want none. So Karen over there like, get out my house, screaming and yelling, get out her house. Fatima telling her, look, I'm leaving, but long as you heard what the hell I said. Karen said, I ain't heard ish. So that lets me know Karen, that went in one end, out the other. Basically, she was talking to a brick wall, because I don't think Karen is going to stop what she's doing, child. So Fatima told her, look, you keep playing with me, I'm going to show you what crazy really is. And Karen like, oh, so you think you crazy? She over there thinking it's a game. Fatima told Andy, look, you better tell her. You better tell her. And Danny like, oh, girl, I don't want no problems. You cool with me? So Zach, he pops up looking for Fatima, and she was like, what, you surprised? Then he said, I know you was up to something. She told him, look, you said that she was leaving the door open, so I took that to be an open invitation for anybody. And she said, as a matter of fact, I thought you was going to be asleep all night because I laid it on you real good, as she rubbing all over him. So, of course, Karen over there in her feelings hotter than fish grease. So Zach trying to get Fatima to come home. The girl's trying to convince Zach to get her to go home. And Karen, you know, she done got a little battery put in her back now. She done got extra mad. She's like, get your B, take her home, this and that and the other. And then she comes up with this little story saying that Fatima is trying to make her lose her baby. And Fatima said, no, I just need you to leave my man alone. So Karen told her she's not doing that. She's not going to stop. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm like, Karen, girl, stop it. So then she says, as a matter of fact, he's the father of my child. She goes somewhere, get this manila envelope, comes back and pushes it into Zach's chest. And Fatima, she gets all upset and you do it again, touch him again, touch him again. I'm going to beat your behind. And so they go through all that, trying to, you know, separate the two of them with all that. And then here comes Aaron walking through the door. Like, why is Aaron here? Can somebody explain to me, why did Aaron pop up at this particular moment? So, child, he comes in there like he the man of the house or something, talking about what's going on. And Danny tells him it's a hot damn mess. That's what's going on. He asks Karen, is she okay? Child, Karen looked at him and rolled her eyes, didn't say not 2 words to Aaron the entire time he was there. He looks at Zach and has the audacity to say, I think you need to leave. Like, hurry up and get out of here. Zach like, look, don't say nothing to me. Don't you see me trying to get her up out of here? Like, Aaron, John, sir, you're not even supposed to be there. So how dare you tell somebody else that they need to leave when actually he was the one invited there, not you. So while Zach and Aaron are going through it, Fatima looking at Aaron like, I wish you would. Like, I got my man back on this. She giving him the death stare. Then her and Karen, they looking each other up and down like, Danny looking at them like, y'all two ain't through with this yet. So the manila folder fell to the floor. So Fatima told Zach, pick up the folder. Zach said, I'm not picking that shit up. Karen over there, her whole demeanor done changed now because it's like, why not? Don't you want to see about your second child? And she's like, just pick up the paper. Just pick it up. Zach is telling her, just stop. Just stop. It's embarrassing. So then Karen starts saying, oh, tell her how much you love me. Tell her how your thing was all hard up under the table. Tell her how we had sex in the bathroom. And Zach looking at her like, don't do that. Don't do that because you're lying. And she said, oh, I'm a liar. I'm a liar. Oh, we never had sex in the bathroom. He said, why are you trying to make these people think something happened? That was 3 years ago before I even met her. So Karen wanted to say, yeah, but you took me right back to that same place. Yeah, but Karen, you tried to make it seem like y'all had sex and his thing was hard just now, like as of today's date. So, I mean, do we need to get you Baker acted or something? Like, what's the deal? What's the problem? I'm not understanding. So then she goes back to telling Zach to pick the paper up. She goes on for like 10 minutes. She sounds like her voice is cracking, like she want to cry. She is begging this man to pick up the paper. And I'm confused because I'm like, even if Zach picks the paper up, let's just say it actually said, Zach, you are the father. Okay, then what? I mean, it's not as if him and Fatima don't have it in their mind that it's a possibility that the kid could be his. So they are already preparing for the child to be his, hence making room in their household, wanting to make room, him trying to set up some type of child support payment with you. And I don't know who does that before they even know that a child belongs to them anyway. I've never heard of that before in my life. But anyway, if it's his child, it's just his child. It's not going to change the relationship. He's not going to be with you because you have his child. Trust and believe, a child does not keep a man. So I don't know what you expect to gain. So after all of that and the begging and the pleading for Fatima to get out, Fatima finally leaves. So then she jumps back on Zach and asks him what he's afraid of that he won't look at the paper. Zach continues to tell her, look, you got to chill, you got to chill. And she keeps saying the same thing over and over. Why you won't look at it? He said, it's really embarrassing. He walks out the door and she calls out, go ahead, you're a coward, just like you've always been. So Karen, now that your butt hurt because you're not getting what you want, Zach has to be all kind of names now in front of everybody, but you really expect him to leave Fatima to come back to you in a situation where you're constantly calling him out his name again? You think he's really going to come back to that situation? But what baffles me about this whole little scene is the way Aaron stands there like he's not a part of this. Like, you are supposed to be one of the potential fathers, and you're standing there looking dumb as hell to me. I mean, she begging and pleading this other dude, letting him know he's the dad, and you sitting up there looking dumb as hell. Like, why you won't pick the paper up? So Aaron and the sister circle, they're trying to tell Karen she needs to calm down and think about the child. And, you know, Aaron putting his little 2 cents in, talking about he don't want to overstep. So Danny had to get on his behind real quick and let him know, look, why are you even popping up over here anyway? You already overstepping by doing that. He basically told her to mind her business. She told him, don't snap on me because I'm not part of your congregation. So Aaron, he left. So Andy was trying to comfort Karen, and Karen told Andy, look, you need to get out my house because you let that be in my house and you didn't get her out when I told you to get her out. I'm like, oh, child. So Karen told Andy she gonna have to choose between being her friend or being Fatima's friend. Now, can y'all imagine being almost 40 years old and have to choose between friends like y'all little kids on the playground? Girl, bye. Nobody's doing all that. So Sabrina and Danny, they try to chime in. Karen said, all y'all can leave. Like, all y'all need to get out my house because I didn't invite you here no way. So Sabrina said, we're not leaving you. Danny said, I'm not going nowhere because y'all wouldn't leave me. I had to leave my own house when y'all tried to give me an intervention. So we stand right here, child. So Karen, she's so hurt and frustrated to now she's just crying, telling them just to get the F out, get the F out. They keep telling her no. So then she says, y'all are going to cause me to miscarry at this point. And they're telling her, like, don't say that. So she storms off to her bedroom. So as soon as Karen go in the bedroom, Danny's sitting on the sofa like this some BS. And she reaches for the manila folder that's on the floor. And Andy with her scared behind talking about, leave it there, Danny. Danny was like, child, please. Danny grabbed it and Andy tried to take it out of her hand. And basically Danny was like, girl, if you don't get your paws up off this, I know something. And so she pulls the paper out and then tell me why Andy and Sabrina got their eyeballs all on the paper before Danny can really even get it out good enough. Like, I thought you didn't want to see it. You said leave it. So anyway, Danny stuffed the paper back in the manila envelope and slung it on the sofa, right? Andy was like, well, what did it say? Danny says that the paper is blank, is empty, and there's nothing on it. I could not believe it. I said, you got to be joking. You got to be kidding me. Sabrina was like, oh, so she was bluffing? And she was like, yeah, I'm going to leave before I beat her pregnant ass. I said, I know that's right, Danny. I said, hold up. Hold the hell up. Now, can anybody out there explain to me what was Karen's game plan in going in her room and bringing a manila envelope back that had nothing on the piece of paper that was inside? She literally begged Zach to read it in front of everybody. What was she going to gain if he read it and nothing was on the paper? I don't get that. That is super embarrassing, knowing that had he read it, that just, I don't know. That was just too much. So does anybody else think that Karen may be having some type of mental breakdown? Because that's where I'm going with it. I'm not seeing any kind of calculating strategic chess move that could have been played by handing him that, because I don't see what she gains from that. I just don't. It makes absolutely no sense. So y'all let me know what y'all think, but it may be time for a 5150 or something. She needs to be Baker acted. I don't know, before it gets worse, because she already said, I can't stop, I won't stop. Something's going to have to give with her. But in the trailer next week, you see her on the phone talking to somebody, and she says somebody's going to end up getting hurt. So we got to keep our good eye on Miss Karen and her mental state. So we go outside of Karen's apartment. The girls get outside. Aaron's just not walking outside, which I don't know why. Zach is still out there, which he should have been already in his house. But he claimed he is there because he's waiting for Fatima to get home, and he's watching her through a tracker on his cell phone. Whatever, Zach, because it seemed like to me you could have just followed her in the car, but whatever. He says that all the bees that Karen was spitting out to Fatima, she is liable to spin the block and come back. No, Andy says she'll wait around, like everybody can leave, she'll sit there. And Zach told the girl, if Fatima does come back, what you gonna do? And Danny told her, yeah, right, because you wasn't no good up in there, because Karen tossed you out like a little rag doll. So Andy, she gets in her feelings, so she struts down the sidewalk looking for her car. Danny says, look, I'm out of this piece. I've got a date. And she left Sabrina there with Zach and Aaron to play the go-between. So now Aaron, he wants to talk to Zach, and he's like, oh, so you're the father. And Zach told him, look, I don't know that, and I really don't want to talk to you. He said, well, she obviously wanted you to see the papers. Why you wouldn't look at them? You know, I bet you got a whole bunch of other little kids. Like, what, you gonna deny your child? Zach told him, like, look, I'll find out I'm the father when I'm good and ready to find out I'm the father. So they trying to start that back and forth, and Sabrina got to get in between them again. And Zach was like, is that a drink I smell? Like, what, you know, I thought you was on the wagon. And so she break them up or whatever. She was like, Zach, didn't Fatima get home? Your phone is pinging. Don't you want to go check on her? So Zach, he ends up leaving. So with Aaron bickering with Zach, Sabrina's trying to talk some sense into him, telling him he's not helping the situation. Aaron saying that he doesn't really care. And she was like, well, don't you care about Karen? He says that I love Karen. So Sabrina went to looking like, she said, wait a minute, have you been drinking? So he starts shrugging his shoulders and getting that little shifty eye thing he's been doing lately. And he says, well, I've only had one drink. She said, but aren't you in recovery? So then Aaron tells her it really was not her business and that he only had one drink. So Aaron is one of those that, oh, I was just a little tipsy. I wasn't drunk. Like, first of all, you got to be drunker than drunk if everybody can just take a step back and like, damn, is that liquor I smell on you? What you over there drinking? Everclear that they can smell it from afar? You clearly had more than one drink, Aaron. You had to be lit. And not only that, you a whole preacher out here drinking and driving. So Sabrina is telling him that Karen really doesn't have time for all of that. And he kind of insists that he just wants to check on her. So Sabrina says, look, just put your number in my phone. And she would pretty much, keep him informed of what's going on with Karen. Which I'm like, if anything, you should have been trying to call him a ride share, a Uber or something so he can get wherever he lives, because we still haven't seen that. But that's neither here nor there. But she gives him the phone number, and I'm like, okay, so now he's going to be calling Sabrina every 5 minutes the way he calls Pam, trying to get information about Karen. Just more stalking, that's all. So he ends up leaving, and Sabrina, she goes back inside Karen's apartment. So when Sabrina goes back up inside, we see Karen sitting on the sofa with her piece in her lap. And Sabrina says, why do you have the door wide open like that? And Karen tells her she's waiting for Fatima to come back. So Sabrina's trying to talk to her. Karen is like, get out my house, I'm stressed out. Sabrina was like, you have to think about the baby. So Karen says, well, they're not thinking about the baby. I guess meaning Zach and Fatima. Karen, if nobody else in the world is going to think about your child, you need to be worried about your child. I mean, that's where it has to start with you. So take care of yourself and get it together. That's what you need to do. So she mentions that Andy is not a real friend. She tries to call Fatima on the phone. Sabrina has to take her phone from her. Then she goes into the whole thing about how she was over and done and ready to move on from Zach and move on to Aaron. And Zach pretty much just reeled her all back in the way he acted with her at the salon. Now he acting like he don't want to have nothing to do with her. So I guess that just set her off. It triggered her into this little spiral thing she's going through right now. And now she's thinking about it, talking her way through this and saying now that she feels like Zach is gaslighting her. He's trying to play her and that he's trying to make her crazy. Sabrina's trying to convince her that is not the case. So since Sabrina's not telling her what she wants to hear, she told Sabrina to get out of her house. She got up and went to her bedroom, and Sabrina basically was like, girl, I'll call you later. So next thing we know, Sabrina, she looks up and Pam is standing in the doorway. So she asked her, like, Pam, what are you doing here? Pam said she came to check on Karen because she's been blowing up her phone and Karen has not been answering. So Sabrina basically convinces her that Karen is fine. She'll be fine. Just give her a call tomorrow. And Pam looking like, tomorrow? Talking about why the door wide open? So she got a whole little piece in her hand. Like, what is going on? So the two of them, they end up leaving together. So we go over there to Maurice's apartment and him and Calvin having a conversation about Q. And we finally see Maurice, trying to take a tad bit of accountability for what has taken place. And he's feeling a little sorry for Sabrina. You know, he's saying she doesn't deserve everything she's going through. And he knows that, you know, he played a part in what happened. So he still set out to do whatever it is he need to do to get back at Q. So we go over there to Zach and Fatima's house. And Zach, he finally makes it home. And he comes in the house asking Fatima, like, why did you go over there? Like, you can't just be walking up in people's house. You can't be doing that. And he also tells her, like, you know, she carries a gun. And me and Fatima at the same time was like, and? Like, she carries one too. So she said, look, I'm tired. I just had to let her know, you know, what time it was. And he said, now we all know. Fatima like, good. So now I solidified. So Zach says he just want to live a nice, happy life without Karen being in the middle of it all the time. And Fatima has to let him know, like, well, how you going to do that if the baby is yours? Zach says, we don't know that. So Fatima said, well, why you didn't look at the paper? He said, well, she don't even have my DNA. So Fatima says, well, if she had the preacher's and it's not his, then it got to be yours. Zach looked at her like, hey, we don't even know that. Like, you don't know who Karen out there having sex with. So Fatima gave this look like, you know what? You got a point. So Fatima told him he still should have looked at it. And Zach said, I wasn't opening that in front of all that drama like that. I wasn't doing all that. So he said, you don't want to hear this, but you was dead wrong. You was wrong. So she agreed that she was wrong. And he told her that she cannot go over to Karen's house again. And he said, well, what if she would have came over here? And I don't know why he said that, because Fatima was like, baby, I wish she would have came today. Like, that would have been all she needed. But like Fatima says, she already done been over here, but today would have been a great day for her to do it again. So he was like, you know, I know you don't hate her. And Fatima was like, no, I don't hate her, but you just got to let people know you have to set boundaries. And when those boundaries get crossed, then all hell's going to break loose. I know that's right. So then Zach says he can't talk to her when she's like that. And Fatima had to let him know, look, I'm calm. This is my calm. He was like, oh, that's your calm. So he politely pulled up a chair because she said she was going to stay downstairs, and he, I guess, was going to watch her just in case she decided she wanted to sneak back out the house, asking her, where's your pocketbook at, killer? So Hayden, he calls Gary and lets him know that he did file the annulment papers and he was getting ready to go into the house, but he wanted to ask him for some advice on how he should approach Tamara with the situation. Of course, Gary is just blunt and don't care. He's like, just tell her, like, just blurt it out. Hayden, on the other hand, is like, he really does not want to lose Tamara. He really likes her because he hasn't had it this good in a long time. So Gary had to bring him back, like, are you willing to risk everything for her? Hayden tells him no. So then, again, Gary was like, well, just blurt it out and tell her. You could tell that Hayden really wanted some real sound advice from Gary on how to approach the situation, but of course Gary really don't give a damn, so Hayden was like, thanks for nothing. So Hayden actually gets out of the car and goes into the house to talk to Tamara, and I still find it funny that we see Hayden's whole house and have yet to see where Aaron or Gary lives. Hayden, he goes inside and Tamara greets him with this nice negligee on, looking nice, and he's like, damn. So she was like, I wore it just for you. But Hayden, he tells her, look, we got to talk. And she was like, what's wrong? Because this sounds serious. So he basically explains to her that he feels like they've been moving too fast. They've been married for just 3 days and they could just go ahead and get this annulment. Tamara, she doesn't know what that is. So he tries to kind of like tell her like the difference between the two, like they can get the annulment as opposed to the divorce or whatever. And she was like, well, why you got to do all of this? I'm enjoying being your wife. Why can't you just wait it out a little while longer? And he was like, I just feel like we're moving too fast. And he says, you're not mad at me, are you? And she plays it off. You know, she was like, no, but I'm going to bed and I'm moving out tomorrow. And he was like, that's not what he wanted. But, you know, Hayden, you really can't have your cake and eat it too. So it's like, it is what it is at this point. So we'll see if he gives in tomorrow when it's time for her to move out. We'll see. So we go over there to the dinner date with Danny and Preston, and he notices that she's barely touched her food or hasn't said 2 words all the way to the restaurant. And, you know, he asks her what's wrong. So she says it's Karen and this and that and the other. he mentions that he had a conversation with Zach about what happened at the salon, and Danny was like, oh, so you noticed that, you peeped that out. And she's intrigued that he can notice that with Zach and his problems, but can't notice it within their relationship. And I'm like, that's normally how everyday people do anyway. It's like, I can clearly see where you messing up, but, you know, I can sit in my stuff and don't notice a damn thing. So that's just how it goes. So instead of her just enjoying the moment, enjoying their company, starting fresh and new, she's, you know, giving him the third degree about how he acts like he's so oblivious to the things that go on in their relationship or had gone on in the past. And he was like, look, we're starting fresh. I'm working on it. I'm trying. And, you know, she's just going on. And I'm like, Danny, like, it's like, why are you trying to start a little argument? Like, just stop it. So she's still asking him, like, what did you say to Zach? And just don't worry about Zach and Karen and all of this and that. Focus on you and Preston. That's what you need to be focusing on. Now, Preston has done some things, yes, but you need to start acknowledging the part that you played in y'all whole relationship in the past as well. Preston has knocked on your door, came at your house plenty of times, and you done had plenty of dudes up in there, half naked, coming out the bathroom, in the bed, talking about they done licked your booty hole and all that. So you do play a little part of what done took place. So, I mean, let's cease the conversation about all of what happened in the past and just start fresh and enjoy your company like you were doing and get your little bottle of wine and, you know, let it be what it's going to be. So Sabrina, she calls Andy to check up on her, ask her if she's okay, and Andy says she's not okay. So the two of them, they get to talking about the whole Karen situation of how she treated her and kicked her out the house. And Andy tells her that Karen is wrong. She hurt her feelings real bad, and she doesn't appreciate how she was talking to her. Which, Andy, that's not the first time, but anyway, Andy says that she can be friends with Karen and Fatima, and the two of them need to realize that. Sabrina was like, you want me to come over? And she was like, no, Gary's coming over. And she was like, well, she'll go over to Karen's house later. So I don't know why Sabrina won't go take a bath and lay her butt down, because it's time to go to bed. I mean, she just frolicking around all day and all night. So Andy told Sabrina that when she talks to Karen or go over there to let her know that she was wrong and this and that and the other. And I'm like, Andy, do it yourself. You need to talk to Karen yourself and tell her she was wrong for how she talked to you. That's not Sabrina's job. So Andy told her she had to get off the phone because now Gary is walking in. So Gary, he comes in. He asks her if she's okay. Andy tells him she's not. So he wants to know, like, what happened. She don't want to talk about it. He tries to go in for a hug to comfort her. She tells him, like, look, we passed all that. So bottom line is, Andy wanted to have sex. Gary told her, no, you're in a strange place, not tonight. So Andy, she picks up her phone, and Gary was like, well, what are you doing? She tells him she's calling somebody that, you know, she can have sex with, I guess. And he goes into this whole little thing about, you know, you're not the same person I met. You know, I see the real you now. So they go back and forth with their little thing. And she's like, oh, why? You know, we're the same person. And, you know, we go for what we want till we suck the life out of people. All this blah, 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 blah. So Gary tells her it's clear that you need someone to talk to, but it won't be me tonight. So she said, well, just leave. So he gets ready to leave. And he said, well, by the way, whoever you call, they won't be able to F you the way I do. And Andy said, or F me over. I said, okay, Andy, that was a little good one. So he said again, I see your true colors. So he leaves and she's standing up there looking crazy. I'm like, child, y'all two got a lot going on and we still tired. So we go over there to the police station where Maurice walks in to speak with Logan, ask him if he's in charge. Logan tells him, yes, he is. So Maurice sits down and basically says that he was guilty of committing a crime with Q and that Sabrina had absolutely nothing to do with it. And that's where the episode ends. Well, guys, what did you think of this week's episode? What were your thoughts about the entire scene in the beginning with the Fatima Karen fiasco? Drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts about that. How do you feel about Maurice walking into the precinct admitting to committing the crime with Q? Even though we know Logan know what time it is. But, you know, what do you guys think about that? So, as always, you guys, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.